Okay, so for those who don't know, a lucid dream is when you are awake inside of your dream. You can do anything like you do in real life, only except now you have superpowers. You can fly, you can shoot fireballs from your hands, you can meet anybody, real or imagined, like character, whatever. You can do anything. I'm just gonna basically share my method of how I did it, and I'm basically just gonna tell you everything you really need to know. So if you don't know anything about lucid dreaming or how to do it, after watching this video, you will know everything that you need to have a lucid dream. Okay, so the first thing is I like to do it by maintaining my awareness as I'm falling asleep. There's also some method where you can realize inside the dream, like while you're dreaming, that, oh, this is a dream. And for that, you can do reality checks. Actually, I'll just explain the reality check method real quick so that you can also have a chance of just waking up randomly inside the dream. I've also done that a few times. Reality check is basically, in real life, you make a habit of checking if you're asleep or not. And you might think it's silly to check if you're actually sleeping or not, because while you're awake, it feels like, oh yeah, of course I'm awake. But this is exactly the reason why you never wake up inside the dream, because you think you're awake. So since you don't know that you're sleeping, you also don't know that you're awake. So what you do is, for example, you can check how many fingers you have on your hands, or one very effective one is you look at some text, any text. You check if there's actually like a coherent text, if it's actually letters or things like that. You can really do anything, like you can check if the walls are solid. But the key thing with reality checks is you have to actually seriously question if this is real life or not. So you don't just look at your hand like very, like, oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, I have 5 fingers, or whatever. You're just gonna have the habit and then do that in the dream and not even realize that you just counted 7 fingers. You're just gonna be like, whatever, I have 7 fingers, that's normal. So you cannot do this mindlessly. That's the key thing. You have to actually really, really question every time that, like, okay, is it really 5 fingers? And am I really in a dream, or is it, is it real or is it a dream? Because it really could be a dream right now. So that's the reality check method. When you are checking, when you're checking a text, for example, then you will often see that, like, the text is like, it just doesn't make sense, or you cannot really read anything. Like, it's not really any letters. Basically anything weird that you notice, it could be an indication that you're inside of a dream. Things that just don't make sense, So you can also make that a habit, like any time that you notice something in your life that is weird, you can also check to see if you're actually dreaming. But anyway, the point is, you have to be very serious about it and actually question for real, like, okay, maybe I'm dreaming. You have to actually consider that as a real possibility. Okay, so now for the, like, maintaining your awareness as you're falling asleep. You can do this when you're going to sleep at the beginning of the night, or you can do this when you're coming back from the bathroom. Maybe like in the middle of the night, you got up and went to the bathroom and you came back. When you're coming back in the middle of the night, you usually fall asleep faster, so it can be easier, but it's the same process, basically. So the first thing you have to know is you have to just make sure you're comfortable. Make sure like you're not gonna have to move, because you have to be absolutely still. You have to absolutely be completely still and not move at all, so that your body can fall asleep while you in your mind are still awake. Because here's the thing, your body will check to see if you're actually awake or not in your mind by sending some signal in your body. Like, it will make you itch somewhere, or something will be uncomfortable, like maybe your underwear is like not really comfortable, or I don't know, you'll just want to change positions or something. So you're gonna get some impulse to move, and you have to make sure not to be tricked by that, and you have to remain completely still. So just get in a very comfortable position, make sure you're ready to fall asleep and you're good without moving anymore. Then you want to, this is, like I said, there's many methods, but the way I do it is I count to 20 and then start over from the beginning. So then when I'm, for example, going like 21, 22, right, and I catch myself, then I know, oh, okay, I lost my focus actually. Because the thing is, you have to basically just, maintain your awareness. You have to just maintain your focus. You have to stay alert. And the best way to do that really is to have this, like, you don't actually need to say anything to yourself in your head. You could theoretically just pay attention. But the thing is, it's kind of hard to catch yourself not paying attention when you're not paying attention to anything, right? And there's one thing I like to do, which I learned from a channel. I think his channel name is called I'm Lucid, but I'm not sure. I think I learned it from him, where basically he would count, and then between the numbers he would have a mantra like I am lucid dreaming or something like that, to basically any phrase to remind yourself of your intention to enter a lucid dreaming state, or to remind you that, okay, maybe I'm dreaming. Because what also can happen is you fall asleep and you don't even realize it, and you're already asleep, but you think you're still lying on your bed waiting to fall asleep. And so, it's kind of, it can be kind of tricky, right? But basically, if you have this mantra plus counting method that I just told you about, so you go like 1, I am lucid dreaming, 2, I am lucid dreaming, then you already have some little bit more complexity, and it's going to help you kind of stay alert. Another thing is, if you know multiple languages, for example, I know 4 languages, and then I use 2 languages to be like, 1. Also, for example, you say 1, I am lucid dreaming. 2, I am lucid dreaming. 3, I am lucid dreaming, for example, right? So that adds, again, complexity, and so it helps you to stay alert. And it's also easier for your brain to kind of come up with like some, I don't know, it's easier for you to get lost in that somehow, and just your brain just starts doing some weird shit, when you're dreaming, you will notice your dreams don't make sense usually. And similarly, when you're drifting off to sleep, you will start thinking random thoughts that don't make any sense at all, right? So you might be like, okay, 1, I'm going to the supermarket. 2, oh, what do you mean? Like, wait, I was supposed to say I am lucid dreaming, right? So then you're like, oh, okay. So that's the moment, right? So you keep doing this, right? 1, I'm lucid dreaming. 2, I'm lucid dreaming. 3, I'm lucid dreaming, up to 20, right? And then you might notice, okay, 21, 22, I'm lucid dreaming, right? I was like, oh shit, I'm losing my focus. This is where you have to pay close attention, because this is usually a sign. Like, the more you get distracted, the more it's a sign that you're falling asleep usually. Of course, you might be like a very distractible person. It also depends on like your personality. If you regularly meditate and stuff, you're gonna keep your focus easier. But yeah, basically, if you notice yourself especially like going like very off-road, and just you notice like, oh, I was like gone for like a minute or something, like I was just off in some like imagination fantasy world, just thinking completely random things, that's like a telltale sign, obviously, that you're going to fall asleep very soon. So then you have to pay especially like close attention and just try extra hard to maintain your focus. So you have to like really laser in. You have to really try very, very hard and be like, okay, 1, I'm lucid dreaming. 2, I'm lucid dreaming. You have to be like very, very laser focused. And like, because when you're falling asleep, it's almost like your focus is like, you know, you have to be like on point, but your focus will be like, you know, it will just yank at your focus as you're trying to fall asleep. So you have to be just very on guard. Okay. So then you might notice like some sensations, you know, like, okay, now my body feels kind of weird. Here's the thing. When you're falling asleep, like I said, you might actually just already be asleep and just still doing your mantra, still doing your, you know, you're basically already lucid dreaming, but you haven't noticed because it feels just like real life. This can happen. Or you might think that you're already asleep. And so you try to move, but then you realize, oh, I'm not dreaming, and I just ruined the whole thing, you know, like now I'm basically awake again and I have to start over. You want to avoid that. And so it's like you need a way to check if you're actually already asleep, or even if you are certain, you have to kind of start moving, because it's a funny thing. Because the way you start moving and start doing things in the dream is the same way you would in real life. And so if you don't know how to do this, you might enter the dream and you will, like, you might even know for a fact that you're asleep now, but then you're lying in bed and then you're like, okay, cool, now you get up, but then you actually move your body in real life because it's the same signal to your body. And then you just wake up and you're like, ah, shit, you like make yourself, you know, you wake yourself up by doing that. So you need to know how to actually start moving your body, and kind of, for me, it's like a separation of, like, initially I have to separate my dream body from my real body. It's kind of weird to explain. Okay, so how do you start moving? What I do is I use this, like, just my index finger. You know, you do this. You know, obviously there's a way to move your index finger like this, right? But you can do this motion less and less. And, you know, obviously thinking about moving your finger and actually doing it is two different things, right? But if you move your finger very, very slightly, just very, very slightly, less and less and less, and then to the point where you're moving it so slightly that you still have this feeling of your, you know, you can obviously do it like this. There's also a very slight move, or you can do it like such a small motion that you're not even moving anymore, but you still feel the movement, like signal, kind of. You still feel like you're going to move your finger, but you're not. Hope this is like explanation works. But basically you do this kind of, you know, you send this kind of signal into your finger to move, but you don't actually move. And then what happens is you're gonna kind of notice something different when you're doing it while you're dreaming, because your finger is gonna lift without lifting, and it's just something you have to kind of experience. Like, so as soon as you like give the signal to move, your finger actually lifts, and you can like lift your whole arm. And probably just also lift your arm right away. For me, it's like I yank my arm out first, and then I will kind of become conscious of my dream body, and then be like, okay, now I move, you know, I move this part, and I kind of separate myself from my real body. And it's also a funny thing, if you've never experienced a lucid dream, you can feel your body like on the bed. Like for me, I can, especially initially when I'm entering the dream state, I can still feel my jaw and everything. I can still feel the back of my head or my body on the bed, all those things. But I'm like walking around the room, but at the same time I can like feel my body touching the bed. So But yeah, this is how you basically start into the dream. And then from there, you can basically start doing anything. But before you do, you should try to just remain calm, because you're probably going to be very excited when this happens, right? When you actually start finally managing to, wake up inside the dream, it's going to be very exciting. You'll be like, oh my God. So the thing is, you have to remain calm, because otherwise you're going to wake up. And so you remain calm, and then it's kind of hard to, I don't know what to call this, but you want to solidify kind of the dream state. You want to enter more into a dream state first. Like, you want to go deeper inside the dream before you do anything like too exciting, because you're still in a very light sleep probably. Especially if you just entered the dream through, like, from the waking state directly, right? And you just fell asleep, then you're going to be in a very, very light sleep, and it's going to be very easy for you to wake up. So what you want to do is you want to, like, go to a wall and touch the wall, or go to the floor and just touch the floor and feel the floor and smell the air, and, look around and just use your senses inside the dream. And this way, just, also be very attentive again, because you can also just easily lose your focus again and then just fall asleep inside the dream again. So if you lose your focus, you can just, drift off and have a normal dream, even though you would just lose it a minute ago. So you have to maintain your focus. Okay, so you're going around, you're touching things, you're engaging your senses. That's how you go deeper into the dream state. And then you can do anything. That is pretty much it. But there are some noteworthy things. Mainly, like, if you're having trouble imagining something, you're not really gonna be able to do it inside the dream. So it's just all gonna depend on how strong your imagination is. If you can see yourself, shooting fireballs or whatever, you can do it. But if you somehow cannot imagine, or like you're doubting, then it's not gonna work. So you have to really believe. It's also the same with flying. And some nights I would have problems with, like, taking off. And some other nights I just, I just fly off, whatever. Yeah, so you have to believe. And then there's some tricks you can look up on YouTube. Like, there's guides and everything for how to do certain things. So, for example, for summoning people, like, you could, for example, talk to a dead relative. It's, for example, it could be hard to imagining them just poofing into existence just right in front of you. It can be hard to imagine that, right? So one method that I used before is to go to a door and then imagine that they're on the other side when you open the door. And that has worked quite well for me. Yeah, so this is basically how you enter a lucid dream. Just, be patient, because you're probably not gonna be able to do it the first time. Obviously, you still just have to practice. I also just highly recommend doing those reality checks that I talked about at the beginning of the video, because they are quite effective. Like, I've woken up a few times through that, but like I said, the key is you actually question whether you're in reality. You just basically make it a habit of questioning whether you are really awake right now, and just take that very seriously. And that can be one of the easiest ways to wake up inside a dream and already be in a very deep dream state, so you don't have to worry too much about waking up too, and so on, right? But to enter a lucid dream at will, just do the method as I told you. And yeah, just don't give up. You're probably gonna fail a few times before you succeed. So keep at it, keep practicing, and yeah, I hope this helps. Take care.